Good afternoon, I'm Ellie Akra. It's November 4th, just 4 more days until the 2022 midterm elections. Just 4 days until we know which party will control Congress. Leading up to this historic election, here's the latest headlines from Washington, D.C. On October 28th, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was attacked at their San Francisco home by a man identified as David DePappy. DePappy is facing multiple charges, including attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon. Paul Pelosi is expected to recover. According to CNN, prominent influencers, including Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump, have spread false information and conspiracy theories about the attack. The police chief told CNN that there is absolutely no evidence that this Mr. Pelosi knew this man. The false information and theories are having a huge impact on social media. Elon Musk has since deleted his tweet about one of the conspiracy theories. The ability to vote in a safe environment is a major concern for many as we approach this midterm election. Fringe voters may stay home in order to practice their own safety. NPR obtained a bulletin issued by the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the National Counterterrorism Center. The bulletin warns attacks conducted by lone actors pose the most plausible threats to potential targets. The attack to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband bring heightened concerns over public safety on Election Day. Former President Barack Obama is among politicians who are on the campaign trail for the midterm elections. Obama delivered an address that served as a closing message for Democrats in several key battleground states as Election Day nears. The former president acknowledged the impact of inflation, rising crime, and other issues, while also describing the election as a referendum on the future of America. The Federal Reserve met Wednesday to hike interest rates yet again. This is the 4th straight meeting of raising rates in an effort to cool inflation.
We've raised interest rates by 3.75 percentage points this year. We anticipate that ongoing increases in the target range for the federal funds rate will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. Financial conditions have tightened significantly in response to our policy actions, and we are seeing the effects on demand in the most interest rate sensitive sectors of the economy, such as housing. It will take time, however, for the full effects of monetary restraint to be realized.
The October jobs report coming today could indicate whether this plan of action is actually making a difference in the state of the U.S. economy. The Supreme Court met this past Monday to consider whether colleges and universities have the right to count race as a factor in their admissions. According to CNN, 9 states already ended race consideration in university admissions, including Arizona, California, Florida, Idaho, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Washington. CNN also reports that 63% of American adults would support the Supreme Court banning higher education institutions from counting race and ethnicity as factors in their admission processes. But 64% of adults also believe that programs designed to increase racial and ethnic diversity on college campuses are a good thing. This past Sunday night, Republican Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia faced Democratic nominee Stacey Abrams in their second and final gubernatorial debate. They debated on a wide range of issues, including abortion, the state's economy, and whose party is to blame for the nation's shortcomings. According to polls released by the University of Georgia and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Kemp leads Abrams by 51% of the vote to 44%. More news from the Peach State. Republican senatorial candidate Herschel Walker is receiving allegations from another woman about pushing her to get an abortion in 1993. According to NPR, this anonymous woman says Herschel Walker is a, quote, hypocrite and not fit to be a U.S. senator. The woman who chose to go by Jane Doe says Walker drove her to the abortion clinic after she backed out the first time. This is the second abortion story in a long list of controversies about Walker. Walker versus Democrat incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock has been a race that has drawn a lot of national attention, especially on the topic of abortion. Warnock is a pastor who is pro-choice. Walker is pro-life, but has now had 2 women come forward with claims he paid for their abortions. A recent poll from Real Clear Politics shows Walker is a 1.5% favorite over Warnock. This is Walker's first lead over 1 percentage point since the poll started in late June. Speaking of polls, we are closely watching a few key races across the nation. According to 538, in Pennsylvania, Democrat Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is up 1.1% over Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz. In Ohio, Republican J.D. Vance has taken a 2-point lead over Democrat Tim Ryan. One of the tightest races to watch next Tuesday may be the Nevada Senate race. That's where Republican Adam Laxalt has now taken a 0.6 percentage point lead over Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto. Voting is already underway in a number of states. According to data analyzed by the University of Florida's U.S. elections, more than 23 million people have voted early in the 2022 midterm election. This is about 15 million more than just 1 week ago. As of Tuesday morning, the project counted over 23 million votes. Of that, 13 million were mail-in ballots, and over 10 million ballots were cast in person so far. With the midterm election now a week away, early voting options are underway in over 35 states. Early voting periods range in length from 4 days to 45 days before Election Day, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. According to NPR, voters in Arkansas, Maryland, Missouri, North Dakota, and South Dakota are deciding whether or not to legalize recreational marijuana. 4 of these 5 states are conservative states. According to a recent poll from Monmouth University, 68% of the American public supports legalizing marijuana for personal recreational use. Arkansas Issue 4 can make the first amendment of legalizing recreational marijuana in the Deep South. And now we turn to Gabriella Chu, who has several special guests this week to discuss the power of the youth vote in the midterms. Gabriella?
Thanks, Ellie. And that's right. We've got students from Dr. Catherine Brownell's American Presidency course in the studio with us today. Now, you've all been discussing the power of presidency and the role in elections. How important is the youth vote in the elections this year?
I would say it's become increasingly important over time, especially with the passage of the 26th Amendment in the early 70s, which lowered the voting age to 18. And as more youth have gotten involved with protesting and everything, I think gradually over time it's become more important.
And based off of what you've been learning in class, how have campaigns attempted to appeal to young voters?
One way is through celebrities, and we've noticed a lot now that celebrities are using social media as a way to interact with young voters to get them to vote.
And why do you think that is?
Because they know it's somewhere where people are all the time, and it's a way to instantly interact with people that they weren't able to in the past.
And what are your thoughts on celebrities getting involved in politics and campaigning and, running for these positions?
I mean, it's a tactic that works. It's been in use since JFK in the 60s. But I think the big thing is people need to realize that their voice is not law, and you have to do your own research about these very important subjects.
And do you think that you're seeing celebrities get more involved now? Why?
It's probably easier to get involved now.
And do any of you in the back, why do you think that is?
I think part of it is that pop culture is so invested in how we think about our world, and celebrities are really in the forefront of the news and have been throughout history, especially in JFK using Frank Sinatra as a way to help his campaign song and bring in music to the campaign. And then Nixon bringing in actors, musicians, and athletes. And that translating to today with social media and how the presidency is using TikTokers and celebrities to bring in the youth vote more, especially with recently how Biden brought in Dylan Mulvaney and Olivia Rodrigo to the White House to speak to them on current issues as well.
And so talking on voting, do you guys plan to vote, or have you voted, and why?
I definitely plan to vote on November 8th. And I think it's important to let your voice be heard, not just for national politics, but also for local politics as well, because a lot of the times those local governments are the ones that make the biggest difference in your everyday lives.
Do you think that your friends or peers will be voting in the elections?
Yeah, they should be.
They should be.
I think a lot of people really prioritize that, especially our age, like voting in these local elections. I think we've all heard that, you do have an impact because voting turnout is so low. And I think that's been prioritized amongst our demographic, especially in recent years.
With voting turnout, how do you think that's going to be this year with the issues that have been happening and coming up? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's probably going to be bigger than more recent years. Social media has been playing a big part in midterms. I've seen a lot of, social media celebrities and, accounts that have been just flooding information to younger voters. Mm-hmm. So I think they've energized the younger population. And I think you're going to see a big turnout.
And speaking on those issues this year, what do you think is most important to young voters?
I worked on a political campaign this past summer where I was doing calling and getting people's information. So one of the main things I found was that the younger voters were really passionate about women's rights and LGBTQ rights, especially after the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
And what's most important to you?
I think as young voters, we find those just as important. Mm-hmm. They've been at the forefront of our media for the past few months and years since 2020 election. So I would say a lot of us find those to be very important, and things that we look for in politicians is talking about those subjects and who they employ to reach out to us.
And now in the past couple years, several surveys, including one from Teen Vogue, report that young voters under 35 are pessimistic about the direction of the country. Do you agree with this?
I would say there's always opportunity. I think history repeats. If you look back to the 1968 election, there was a lot of rioting. The Chicago Democratic National Convention ended up being a large confrontation between police and young protesters. I think we've seen worse situations in our country in history. I'm optimistic that this is not the worst that we've ever been and that we will move past this moment.
What's wrong with the government? It's kind of a forward question, but
I think as a voter, I'd like to see maybe some congressional reform in the future. Maybe, implementing age restrictions or term limits, just those kinds of things. And also maybe, an increase in integrity over time, just personally.
So go ahead.
I think reform in the courts and everything else, and not being so party-based and biased might be good. I think that has a lot to do with how people feel. I think a lot of people feel like we're going backwards. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's impossible to revert that and go forward and see growth, but I think that has a lot to do with how people feel about the current state of the government and being pessimistic.
And with people thinking that we are potentially going backwards, how can that be reversed?
For me, I think part of it is expanding the Supreme Court, which has been in the news recently as well. We saw this with FDR's court packing plan, that by even threatening to expand the courts, they saw a reform in the court system itself. And I think part of that's coming in politics today is that expanding the Supreme Court, having newer justices, would bring more interpretations and be more representative of the people.
Do you see that potentially happening based on your research and what you've been reading up on? Do you think that is a possibility?
Not really, because we're so partisan that really there's not a sure way to get that to happen currently, in my opinion. Not anybody else.
I mean, I would agree. I think FDR had, I believe, a Democratic Congress eventually when he was trying to push this plan through.
Mhm.
He himself was a Democrat, so he had unified government, was not able to get it done. And now we have pretty divided government, and as Matthew said, we're very partisan, so I don't see that happening.
And now going back to the midterm election that's coming up, what races are you watching or what have you been watching?
And I think for me, so I'm from Indianapolis, I've been looking a lot at like the prosecutor race, a lot of the local races. I think that they have the potential to impact a lot of local problems and either make them worse or mitigate them.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I'm from District 2 in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of things happen in our politics this past summer. So I'm interested in seeing what will happen after this election.
My last question before we wrap this up, which party will control the House and which party will control the Senate after this election?
I feel like after the, kind of big summer that we've had with Roe v. Wade overturned, I think we can see more Democratic control coming up because it's very much mobilized the youth vote. And when youth come out, sometimes they vote more Democratic in more recent years, especially for human rights. So,
and do you all agree?
I would say it's hard because I think that's a good point, but oftentimes when there's a Democratic president or a Republican president in the White House, the opposite party will do better in the midterms. It's just a trend that we see throughout time. I think we could see the House flip as kind of what I've seen patterns of.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really a toss-up because we do have a big youth vote coming out, but we also have that kind of political history to look at too to predict the future.
I want to thank you all for a great discussion today. And thank you for watching. I'm Gabriella Chu, and this has been Watching Washington. Don't forget to join us live next week for election night, Tuesday, November 8th, beginning at 6 o'clock on the Purdue Channel. Have a good day.
The Center for C-SPAN, which is this organization, the CCSC, what we do is we facilitate like a bunch of organizations, different programs for Brian Lamb, which is the founder of C-SPAN. Anyone can be part of CCSC, whether it be through our various internships, our competitions, just to be involved, even like our student community meetings that we have every week. Anyone can go, you don't have to be communications or poli-sci. You just meet so many people, the connections you make is kind of crazy, the range that CCSC has. So yeah, it's just provided me so many opportunities to like kind of achieve the goals I have personally and forward to like whatever career paths I choose.
I wake up, flex, thumb down, now check. No drip, this wet. Tell 'em run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell 'em run it up. I wake up, flex, thumb down, now check. No drip, this wet. Tell 'em run it up.
Football. It's the best time of the year. You know what else is great? The world's largest and fastest mascot. You can't have Purdue football without the trains. Look for the Reamer Club outside Stewart Center, 12 to 5 p.m. on Fridays before home football games, for your chance to ride the Boilermaker Special for free. See you then!
Imagine a world where Olympics and Paralympics are unified as one, and where all athletes at all levels have equal opportunities to play and perform at their full potential.
Athletics has been such an influential and transformative aspect of my life. So to me, RISE is about ensuring that every person that has the desire to participate in sport has the opportunity to do so.
This organization is about recognition. We believe in recognizing excellence where it is found, especially in Paralympic sports. RISE is about driving change in our community and beyond. We hope that through our events and initiatives, we can galvanize people for our cause and inspire them to create an ever-growing network to help achieve our mission.
It's about connecting people of various backgrounds and who truly care about creating meaningful change together.
We develop projects and hold events to bring people together at the interface of inclusivity, sports, and engineering.
Our goal is to promote the equality of all sports and to improve sports performance and accessibility.
Join us so that you can have a major contribution in creating meaningful change.
What does it take to be a Purdue tour guide? You've got to know your history. You have to know your facts. You've got to have that Purdue spirit. And you have to walk backwards.
Hi there, my name is Vikram Jaithlak and I'm the founder and president of the Purdue chapter of the University Blood Initiative. Over the past 2 years, we've been able to collect over 300 pints of blood to be donated to local hospitals, and you can be the next one to help out.
I donate my blood at the University Blood Initiative.
Hi, I just donated blood through the University Blood Initiative.
Hi, I just donated blood through the University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
Right, I donated my blood through the University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
And I donated my blood at University Blood Initiative at Purdue.
Are you looking for a new hobby?
Or do you want to have a fun evening with your friends?
Then come climb to new heights at the Co-Rec Climbing Wall.
Well, one of my favorite parts about being in the band is the homecoming parade we do every year. We all wear lights, and the audience just loves it. They just crowd the streets, and the kids love it. Their faces are just lit up, and I just love providing that entertainment for everyone.
We start usually like 4 hours before the game with our inspection, where they make sure we have all our uniform parts, and then rehearsal. And then we get to hang out as a section. The saxophones have some fun traditions. While we have our section tailgate, we usually play what we call sax polka. A lot of different songs we just start playing, and everyone else loves hearing us. I've gotten a lot of compliments on our pre-show stuff.
Anyone can join the All-American Marching Band. We have a bunch of different factors within it. One of them is obviously if you can play an instrument, you can be one of the marchers or players in the band. If you can twirl a flag, you can be in our color guard. If you can do a baton, you can be one of the twirlers. And we also have a dance team. So our whole organization is around 400 people big, and that's with all the different factions.
I really like all the traditions we have, and some of the choreography, and all of the traditions make band more fun and like make us unique from everyone else. I just think our band is very special compared to all the other college bands.
mean, every year's different, but it hasn't changed that much. Our league is just ominous, and you better lace them up tight and be ready to play every night. If not, you're going to get beat.
What does it take to be a Purdue tour guide? You've got to know your history. You have to know your facts. You've got to have that Purdue spirit. And you have to walk backwards.
Football. It's the best time of the year. You know what else is great? The world's largest and fastest mascot. You can't have Purdue football without the trains. Look for the Reamer Club outside Stewart Center, 12 to 5 p.m. on Fridays before home football games, for your chance to ride the Boilermaker Special for free. See you then!
If you had to describe Purdue University in one word, what would you choose? Some may say sports. Some may say inclusivity. Some may say engineering. What if there was a club on campus that could do all three at the same time? Well, let me introduce you. Actually, let's let them introduce you to Rise Purdue.
Imagine a world where Olympics and Paralympics are unified as one, and where all athletes at all levels have equal opportunities to play and perform at their full potential.
Athletics has been such an influential and transformative aspect of my life. So to me, Rise is about ensuring that every person that has the desire to participate in sport has the opportunity to do so.
This organization is about recognition. We believe in recognizing excellence where it is found, especially in Paralympic sports.
Rise is about driving change in our community and beyond. We hope that through our events and initiatives, we can galvanize people for our cause and inspire them to create an ever-growing network to help achieve our mission.
It's about connecting people of various backgrounds and who truly care about creating meaningful change together.
We develop projects and hold events to bring people together at the interface of inclusivity, sports, and engineering.
Our goal is to promote the equality of all sports and to improve sports performance and accessibility.
Join us so that you can have a major contribution in creating meaningful change.